Hi there, and thanks for joining me for part 3 of phase 1 of our sequence of videos that we've been putting out in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce as part of their Together for Business program. Hopefully you've had a look at phases or parts 1 and 2 already, and you've tried a few of the exercises there, and hopefully some of them are proving helpful for you. We're continuing the same sequence. We've got another 4 exercises in this part. They're all based around the shoulders, upper back, and basically trying to improve your upper back posture, keeping the shoulders back, strengthening the upper back muscles, removing all the tension that tends to form across here and here. So as with all the parts so far, we're going to have 4 exercises. Exercise 1 will be a mobility exercise to try and open up the shoulders. No equipment required. Exercise 2, same area, same ultimate goal, but there will be some equipment involved. Then we go into the strengthening exercises, no equipment required for the first one, some equipment required for the second one. There's nothing major required, but again, I'll put a link in the notes for a list of equipment that I would recommend that you check out if you're interested in trying to get some equipment for use at home, or even continuing once gyms and things are open again, then you can take your own equipment into most gyms anyway. So having your own little bits and pieces sometimes can prove helpful, especially when it comes to the rehab side of things. So in this phase, what we're looking at is for the first exercise, we're going to use a shoulder sleeper stretch. Now, this exercise I think is incredibly important for a lot of people, me included. This is one that ever since we've had our lockdown situation that we're going through at the moment, I've been using an awful lot, because it's something that I should probably be doing an awful lot more of. I have incredibly tight shoulders. I have done for years, and it's something that it's more a do as I say, not as I do kind of scenario. I put it off for the benefit of other people. It's the old adage of the cobbler's children go without shoes. I put everyone else first, and I always end up being the person that's trying to squeeze in time here and there. And yeah, this is something I should be doing an awful lot more of, and it's become something that I've been quite consistent with over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I've found a remarkable difference as a result of it. Essentially, I explain in the video the fact that there's an awful lot of cramming and an awful lot of restrictions in the shoulder area because there's just so much going on there. What this does is it forces your body into position to start opening things up a little bit. And that should start to, if there's any impingements, any tightness in there, it should just start to improve the mobility, release impingements, and start to take away the pain. As I say in the video, but I'm going to emphasize it here because it's crucially important, do not force this exercise. It's something you should be doing gently, and you should just take it into the point where you feel a stretch and not forcing it beyond that. Also, I explain in the video that if this is something that you do and you don't really feel anything from, that's great, because it means that you don't have any tension in your shoulder. It may be that you're hypermobile and you need to really work on your strengthening, but it should mean that you've got no issues with the range of motion in your shoulder. And it's maybe something that doesn't have to be high on your priority list as one of your exercises at the moment. But that's the same with all of these things. Give them a shot. It only takes a minute maybe to try each of these. With this one, maybe slightly longer because you have to change sides, so maybe a minute and a half. But that's it. You just give yourself 90 seconds, try it out, see what it feels like. If you feel the stretch is going to give you some relief, then keep at it. If not, move on to the next one and find the ones that are working for you, group them all together and try and make it a habit of doing them on a daily basis, unless it's one of the ones that I'm sort of suggesting that you give a day off in between, which are quite rare, but there are a few of them. So that's the first exercise. The second one is a Therese release with a ball. Now, your Therese, what I'm talking about is your Therese area. You've got a thing called your Therese major and Therese minor on both sides of your body, and it's sort of just tucked under here. They're kind of not related, weirdly, but they're right next to each other. The Therese minor is part of your rotator cuff muscles, and your Therese major is a little bit bigger and sits slightly below it. And usually it's the Therese major that causes an awful lot of problems, but it might not be. What you tend to find is anybody who's sort of loaded themselves up by picking things up and letting it drop. So if you've been doing work in a gym where you're doing shoulder presses and you drop the weights rather than controlling it down, this is the bit that gets loaded up and it starts to ball up and knot up and cause an awful lot of tension. There are very few people that I've done this exercise with who haven't really, as soon as they hit the point that they're supposed to be working on, haven't had an exclamation of pain or oh my god. As soon as you hit it, you know. And if it's shooting all the way through to the front of your shoulder, you've got real problems. You really need to work on this. If it's just very uncomfortable, it's still worth working on. Keeping this area loose is incredibly important to the general health of your shoulder. So I absolutely recommend working on this, but you need a lacrosse ball for it or a baseball, or I've mentioned this in other videos. Whenever you need a ball, you need something pretty firm. A lot of people use tennis balls. I don't think that's particularly effective because they're not hard enough. They've got too much give in them, and you really want to be massaging in there to try and break down any scar tissue and just undo the knotting in that area. So a lacrosse ball, a baseball, or some kind of plasticky ball that's got a tiny bit of give in it, not a tennis ball because it's too soft, and generally not a golf ball because it's too hard. Something slightly in between the two. But again, go to the link in the comments, look at the list and see the ones that I recommend. The next one is for strengthening, and this is the bodyweight one, and it's either a pike push-up or a yoga push-up or a shoulder push-up, something like that. There's lots of names for this, and it depends on where your background is. But it's one of these ones that you might look at and think, oh, I can't do that. But it's a bit easier than it looks. It's actually easier than doing a standard push-up, although you do need a bit more mobility. And as you'll see when I do them, my flexibility is not the best, and it's something that's just never top of my priority list, and it really should be. But I do some work on it, but it's not as much as I should. And so therefore, when I go to push back, the lines are not as straight as you would see in someone who does yoga regularly, for example. But it's still pushing into my shoulders, and that's the main goal of this. But it is easier than doing a press up. And it might help because you're using the eccentric portion of a press up where you lower yourself down. That's usually the easier bit to do, but it also helps build strength in that motion. So it might actually help your press ups as well, if that's something that you do struggle with. And then the final thing is a band external rotation to press. This is one of these ones that's deceptively difficult, or it looks easy, but it is very, very, very effective anyway, put it that way. But you do need a resistance band for this. So again, if you don't have one, have a look at the link. Grab yourself some mini bands or hip bands. They're not expensive and they're incredibly versatile. So they're definitely worth getting a hold of one or two of them. You can usually get a pack for about £12 or something. Give it a shot. But this is one that I think is incredibly valuable when it comes to strengthening the integrity of your shoulders. I'll let the video explain exactly how it works because it's a bit complex to explain all in one go. It looks very simple, but the mechanics of it and the nuances of it are important. So have a look at it, give it a try and see how you go on. As I say, 4 exercises, very simple. Again, it would take you less time to do them than it would have taken you to watch this video. So once you've got them, give them all a shot. I would suggest just watch one video, then go and try it. Watch the next video, go and try it. If you can't do it because you don't have the equipment, obviously you'd have to skip over that one for now. But if it does say equipment and you don't have equipment, I'd suggest watching anyway because you might get something out of it. So even if you don't try it because you can't, you may get something out of the videos as in how you're connecting with muscles, and maybe you can come up with something else that you can do based on things that you do have around the house. And there's a few videos that we're doing here that you can do that kind of thing with, especially in the next phase. So speaking of which, there's one more phase to go here, or one more part to go in this phase, and then we'll move on to phase 2, which will move away from the shoulders and upper back, and we're going to move into the hips and lower body effectively. So have a go at them. Remember, you can get in touch at any time. Let me know how you're getting on. If you're struggling with anything, just let me know. I'll see what I can do. If I have to post another video to explain something else, then I'll do that. If you just want to get in touch and you want me to answer a question, then I'll do that. These are here to try and help in the long run, but I must remind you again that consistency beats perfection. Trying to do these things consistently and getting into the routine of doing them and then refining over time is much more advantageous than just leaving it until you think you've got half an hour to be able to do it. You might think you don't have time, but you always have a minute. If you can't give yourself a minute, then you're going to burn out pretty fast anyway. So please give yourself a minute for each of these exercises, even if it's only one a day. You try one, and then the next day you give yourself a minute to try the next one. Take a note of which ones are working for you and try and pull them together so you maybe get yourself a little 5 or 6 minute routine that's ultimately, if you can do that every single day, the benefits will be miraculous. Give it a shot, see how you got on, come back to me and let me know how you're doing. Until part 4, have a great day.